Welcome to Family Gamer TV. Now, as you can see, we've got a rather unusual Toys to Life game here, Fabulous Beasts. We're going to be looking at it in detail, and we've got Alex Fleetwood from Sensible Object, the creator of the game, to tell us more about it. So, what's the top line here? What's this game all about?
So Fabulous Beasts is a game where players take on the role of a family of gods and goddesses trying to create and nurture a world full of fabulous beasts. And the way that they do that is by taking the artifacts, these sort of mysterious magical objects that you can see on the table in front of me, and building a balancing tower out of them. So every time a player successfully balances another object, another artifact in the tower, it has some kind of effect on the connected digital world that you're building. So some of the creatures are beast creatures, and they will beast artifacts. They will create new beasts and add them to the world. And the other pieces have all kinds of mysterious and interesting effects that we can discover over the course of the chat that we have.
So we've got a sort of a NFC technology. So you take one of these little creature pieces, you scan it on the base.
That's right.
Then by putting it on top, it knows that it's there because of the weight of what you're adding.
Yeah, so we're combining two sensors together. So there's the NFC technology, which is common to other Toys to Life games, and then what we've added in is a weight sensor, a load cell, the kind of thing that you find in a set of digital kitchen scales. And then what we're doing is some signal processing to make sure that we can get a real-time feed of the data about the weight of the tower into the game, so that as we add pieces and knock the tower over, that we can use all of that to make the game experience. And
so I guess part of the challenge is adding pieces without it falling over. And when it falls over, is that game over, or is there a way to recover?
So if you knock anything off the tower, whether it's one piece or the whole thing, you have a few seconds to rebuild, during which your world is unstable. So if you just knock one thing off, you can get that back on and you'll be okay and you can carry on building. But if you knock everything off, then that becomes very hard.
I see. It feels like the physical side is really clear. I get that completely. Mm-hmm. On the screen, so what we're seeing, in terms of like a video game genre, does it fit into a particular style?
I think we're drawing on god games, and also on kind of beast, sort of creation and management games. So, kind of Pokemon is a pretty good reference. You have to nurture your creatures, combine them to make new hybrids, and boost them up with resource pieces. So I think, that's maybe a good reference point.
And so once you've got your creatures boosted up, do they then do anything in the game, or is it just a matter of you're creating a sort of menagerie of creatures? There are roughly 150 beasts to discover in the game, and you can discover them through a variety of different methods. Your goal with each of the creatures is to discover their most fabulous state, which is achieved by evolving them to a certain level. And so to discover that state, you need a certain combination, do you, of pieces?
Yeah. So it's a bit of it's a way of coming back to the game again and again. To discover all of the beasts that are hidden in the game, you're going to have to build some quite quirky towers and get very skillful at stacking objects in a strange order.
Yeah, interesting. And you've already mentioned, as I did as well, the sort of Toys to Life space. Mm-hmm. And that's usually come at by very large, very commercial companies. And as I understand it, you're an indie developer.
That's right.
How is it you're able to sort of come in with a piece of hardware like this that maybe people would assume would take a lot of money to develop?
Sure. I think it's a really exciting time for indie game studios who are looking at that sort of Toys to Life connected physical digital space. There's a set of prototyping technologies that we use. So we use 3D printing, we use electronics prototyping technology called Arduino. We connect that with things like Unity, which is a digital game making engine. And together that means that we've been able to create everything that you can see, that the physical pieces, the hardware and the digital game, with a team of 5. So that's it's exciting.
And so I guess the other thing with the Toys to Life genre is people are used to buying a starter pack
and then to some extent getting sort of milked to buy expansions through the year.
We've really worked hard on making this a really fun game out of the box, and there's no content in the game that is locked away or hidden from players. Everything that can be done with the core set, you'll be able to do with the 24 pieces that ship with the core edition.
Do you have a price for that yet?
Yeah, so we're on Kickstarter right now, and the core edition price is £59. That's our Kickstarter price. The retail price is likely to be higher than that.
Looking at you guys playing, and they're not articulated, it seems. Are they just static, moulded creatures?
Yeah, that's right. So the sort of design of the pieces is, we're trying to make these kind of characterful, colourful pieces. You can see, as a shark going into the tower now. We're also trying to make them really interesting to stack. So, one of the things for players to discover as they get into the game is that the pieces all have different geometries, which means they stack usefully in different ways.
Nice. And are they waterproof? Because seeing some of these, I know younger kids will want to carry them around and use them as bath toys and things like that. Are they going to be robust in that way?
Yeah, they've been. So we've been working really closely with manufacturing partners in Hong Kong and China. So there's kind of really three things that's gone into. So we've designed all these pieces with a 3D printer in our London base. So they've been through dozens and in some cases hundreds of iterations to get to the forms that you're looking at now. And we're really trying to balance three things with that. One is to make them really characterful and fun to look at and appealing. The first is that stackability question, and how do we make them fun and interesting to stack? And the third is making sure that they're safe, they're manufacturable, and they're robust. So all of the pieces have been designed with a great deal of care for that. We'll be seeking all the necessary certifications for a children's toy as part of our manufacturing process, and we're very careful. We've planned in for all of those things.
I can see what's happening here on screen. Is there more going on than is obvious from just watching? Sure.
So players discover quite a lot of depth to the gameplay round about the end of their first turn. So as you can see, there's a score in the top left-hand corner, which is the fabulousness score, which is the sort of accumulated fabulousness of all the beasts in your world. So the way the scoring works is at the end of each turn, we add up the scores of all the beasts and we add that to your points total. So anything on the first go over a kind of couple of hundred points is a really good score. The current high score with the current build is about 12,500. So there's a lot of depth of strategy that comes with playing the pieces in order and combining the beast pieces with the action pieces and the element pieces to produce more fabulous beasts and therefore a higher scoring tower. And what players discover as they start to come up with strategies that result in bigger scores is that challenges them to build wobblier towers. So there's a rough analog in the game. The more powerful a piece is, the more valuable it is, the harder it is to stack in the tower.
So you've got sort of risk-reward going on.
Yeah, and we're trying to balance that across both the digital and physical elements of the game. So every time you're adding a piece to the tower, what we want to be provoking you to think about is, what can I stack next? What's going to help me build a good tower? And also, what do I want to stack next to help me build the most awesome, fabulous world?
That's great. And have you got a particular age group in mind in terms of who you think this is going to be sold to? There'll also be early adopters are going to be in the sort of board game area, but is there like a mass market somewhere?
Yeah, so I think what we've seen with the game, so we devised the game with the support of a group of young coaches that was part of we had some sort of prototyping and R&D support from an organisation called the Watershed in Bristol. And we had a group of 8 to 12-year-olds who worked with us on the game and gave us tons of great ideas and feedback. And I think that's the really sweet spot for the age group. I think the kind of spatial reasoning and the kind of there's a bit of sort of maths and stuff to work out with the strategy. It feels like 7 or 8 is the time when that gets really fun. Having said that, my 2-year-old has been a very avid playtester.
Yeah.
And she just kind of stacks things on tower and sees pretty animals and thinks that that's cool.
Yeah, I'm sure you must be stuffing them in her mouth, trying to eat them and stuff.
And eating them, obviously. Yeah, no, they're all pretty tasty. And putting them in odd places where I discover them 3 weeks later and go, that's where Warthog went.
Yeah, I guess you could play the game without a full set. So if you lost one piece, you're not completely scuppered. But
absolutely, yeah. No, I think
limited.
there's, as a veteran of many sets of Set, in fact, which is a game that doesn't work as soon as you're missing one piece. I'm very keen on games that don't lose all their fun once you're one piece down.
Yeah. And one of the things I like about this is it's not tied to a movie brand or a sugary drink or something.
Absolutely.
But if that sort of money comes knocking, have you thought about some sort of branded version of Fabulous Beast? Is that something that you'd like to rule out, or is it money's going to be on the table, isn't it?
I think you never say never. I mean, I think that we're certainly wanting to appeal to people who, which we've tried to make a game that has a really positive experience for children and families. I know I'm no stranger to the sort of screen time, this sort of negotiations and the debates about what games we should play. And I think having games that combine physical and digital in kind of new and creative ways is an interesting way around some of those difficulties and challenges. So I think we want to be, communicating really positive message about games as a force for good in the world. I think that there are all kinds of brands and other games and partnerships out there that it might be really fun and exciting to imagine partnering with. I think there are lots of really big, awesome games that don't have a Toys to Life component right now. But I definitely think that we'll be, if we ever get to that stage, we'll be evaluating those and trying to keep the same sort of spirit and values of our studio going through any partnerships.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's good to hear as a parent. That's what I would be looking for. So, I mean, I think we could talk about this all day. As you start looking at it, more and more questions come to mind. But I think we've got a really good introduction. So we'll draw a line on this today and wish you well with your Kickstarter, and then hopefully get one in the home, let my kids loose on it, and then see what they make of it.
Yeah, awesome. I can't wait to share the latest build of the game with you.
Thanks a lot, Alex. See you again soon.
It's been a pleasure, Andy. Thanks for having me.